Hello, everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of a shorter episode today. I'm not going to talk for as long as usual just because I have a little bit of a case of the Mondays, and so it's going to be a little bit shorter. I'm going to be talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's defenders because he's had a couple of people he's been in relationships with come and defend him against allegations made by Amber Heard. So with that in mind, be sure to like this video and share it out to all your social media platforms. If you're on Facebook, like the page, turn on all notifications. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, but also ring the little bell and also turn on all notifications because subscription feeds, they're being curated by YouTube for some reason, so you don't actually see your stuff in chronological order like you did before. They do this weird thing based on what you've liked and commented on, and so I may vanish into the obscurity of your subscription feed if you don't turn on all notifications. With all that said and done, welcome to Studio Jake. Now, I try to avoid kind of heavy topics like this on the podcast because there's a lot of gossip and misinformation that goes in these sort of celebrity squabbles. But just for background, I want to bring up Johnny Depp. I can't remember if they were actually married or, oh yeah, they're going through divorce proceedings, so I guess they were married. But he was married to Aquaman actress Amber Heard. She, of course, played Mera, who is Aquaman's girlfriend and later wife and queen of Atlantis. Amber Heard plays that part. And she had been married to Johnny Depp for several years now. It had been a very tumultuous relationship, and I want to say somewhere around the end of 2018, these allegations about Johnny Depp started to spark that he was abusive, that he was drunk, and if you look at photographs and pictures of Johnny Depp in the 2018s, he looks like a totally different person. Also, too, the parts he started taking have been really bizarre. He was in a movie called Transcendence. He was in Mordecai, a whole bunch of string of weird, bizarro movies that, and this from the guy who was in Donnie Brasco and Sleepy Hollow and, a bunch of Ed Wood, a bunch of, um, you know, great films and good films that you could enjoy, Pirates of the Caribbean, and a whole bunch, even the Sweeney Todd, fantastic film. And then he's all of a sudden doing these weirdo roles like Mordecai and Transcendence, and you're just like, what happened to this guy? And quite frankly, he hasn't really recovered from that. And you're you're seeing all this, and then it comes out that Amber Heard is accusing him of abuse. However, Johnny Depp, as they say, kept the receipts. And what does that mean? So Johnny Depp, he saved messages and voicemail messages from Amber Heard that showed, in fact, Amber Heard was not the victim of a Me Too abusive relationship. It was Johnny Depp as part of a He Too abusive relationship, where he's saying, or I guess when they separated, she called and is trying to get him to come back, and he says, "Well, how do I know things won't get physical again?" And she says, "Well, I can't promise you that they won't get physical." And he's had other messages from her like that where it's very, very clear that she was the abuser. She was the one getting drunk and beating him, and all these crazy stories. The reports from it are just bizarre, and this is something that gets underreported is men who are victims of domestic abuse, whether it's a straight or gay relationship. The media tries to avoid those kinds of stories, and I really think that it has to do with an agenda with feminism is taking over everything. This third wave um, left-wing feminism where they want superiority, not equality. I think that that is an issue, and Amber Heard obviously from the recordings, I should say, obviously from the recordings, she definitely has an issue. And with these allegations now that she's the actual abuser, I'm curious to see how this will affect her career because she was slated to return in Aquaman 2. Will she? Of course, you know, other actors have bounced back from worse. I mean, Bryan Singer has sexual assault allegations against him. Jeffrey Jones is a convicted sex offender and he still gets roles. It just boggles my mind. And Nickelodeon, of course, is notorious for rehiring pedophiles. They've got several on staff. I bet you didn't know that there have been men who have had there was I can't remember his name, but there was a guy who would make frequent appearances on some of their game shows, and turned out he was a pedophile. He went to jail for it and had to register as a sex offender, and Nickelodeon hired him right back. And although he's rumor has it he's not around children anymore, but still, that is quite spooky. We see this in Hollywood all the time. And think about Kevin Spacey, how his one of his accusers just mysteriously dies. Roman Polanski's winning Academy Awards, and Meryl Streep is giving him standing ovations, and calling Harvey Weinstein, who was just convicted of several counts of sexual misconduct. She's calling him God. Now you might say, "Oh, Jacob, but that was before the allegations." She knew. They all knew. This was clearly something that Hollywood knew about. I mean, they're making jokes about it at the Academy Awards about Harvey Weinstein, women liking him, and all this ridiculous stuff. So it honestly doesn't surprise me that, and especially in an industry that is so focused on wanting to show their feminist creds, that Amber Heard in particular could get away with these allegations if they're true. But like I said, judging from the recordings, in my opinion, they're pretty bad for her. So, but Johnny Depp also has his defenders. So his wife Vanessa Paradis, she's an ex-wife of his. They were together for 14 years and they have two children together. She is defending him. This is coming from theblast.com, where she says that what Amber Heard is saying about Johnny Depp are, quote, false facts, close quote. I like how they have to be false facts. People just can't just say that people are lying anymore. I mean, just say she's lying. I have, but anyway, um, Paradis says, I worked as a musician, singer, songwriter, actress, and fashion model. I have known Johnny Depp for more than 25 years. We've been partners for 14 years, and we raised our two children together. Through all the years, I've known Johnny to be kind, attentive, generous, and nonviolent person and father. And it goes on to say that she even says that she's willing to testify on Johnny's behalf. And she continues, I am aware of the allegations which Amber Heard has publicly accused Johnny of for more than 4 years now. This is nothing like the true Johnny I have known. And from my personal experience of many years, I can say he was never violent or abusive to me. And um, this is astounding. And this is the false facts comment. I've seen that these outrageous statements have been really distressing and also caused damage to his career because unfortunately people have gone on believing these false facts. Well, good for her. I mean, if this is true, I don't think that it if Amber Heard is allowed to make these outlandish accusations, then people are allowed to counter them. There is nothing wrong with that. Now, it's not the only person. Um, she's not the only person who was in a relationship with Johnny Depp besides Penelope Cruz, who was a friend of Johnny Depp's. They were in the movie Blow together. They were also in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies together. She is also standing up for him. She said, she says, I met Johnny when I was 19 years old, she says, and she also says that when they first met, She said, "How are you?" And I want to work with Johnny Depp. Very interesting. She goes on to say, "Many years have passed, and I have not only made three movies with him, but I also count on him as a great friend. I've always been impressed by his kindness, his brilliant mind, his talent, and his peculiar sense of humor. I've seen Johnny in so many situations, and he is always kind to everyone around. He is one of the most generous people I know." And she said that he was very when they were filming Pirates of the Caribbean together. Um, she was pregnant, and he was actually very supportive of her. She says, "During 6 months of my first pregnancy, I spent every single day with him while we shot Pirates of the Caribbean. My husband and I will never forget the sweetness, protection, and kindness he treated me with during every single step of that process." And she adds that her and her husband Javier Bardem, they feel lucky to have someone so special in our lives. So um, it's not just um, it's not just these two. Also, Winona Ryder, um, who was also a fiance of his, she said that she found the allegations impossible to believe. She says, "I do not want to call anyone a liar, but from my experience of Johnny, it is impossible to believe that such horrific allegations are true." She added, "I find it extremely upsetting knowing him as I do." Well, good for all of these people standing up for Johnny Depp. It's kind of interesting because during the whole Me Too movement, when a ton of actors were getting accused. Before, it was kind of fringy people that no one had really ever heard of. I guess the biggest name was maybe Louis C.K. No one really defended him, and he apologized immediately. But Aziz Ansari, all of a sudden, because he was like an ally, right? People were defending him, which I kind of find a little humorous. But anyway, good for these women for standing up for Johnny Depp. I'm curious to see how this all plays out, and whether or not the Pirates of the Caribbean star will be able to bounce back from this. Hopefully so, because Johnny Depp is actually a really phenomenal actor. I miss him and seeing him on the big screen, and I hope that this all gets sorted. If he is guilty, he should be punished for it, but judging from every piece of evidence that I am seeing, it's looking more and more like he is the victim, not the perpetrator. That's just my personal opinion, and I'm saying this all in an allegedly context. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Parler. They're all at Real Jacob Airy. You can find me on Facebook, Author Jacob Airy. YouTube is Studio Jake. You can also pick up a copy of my fantasy novel, The Seven Royals, All Good Things. You can get it while you're under, this whole social distancing thing that's happening during the coronavirus. You can pick up a copy of my book to read during this time, and you can get it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Kobo. You can also get it directly from my publisher at BookLocker.com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.